No,
Now then. Got it. Leave meeting and leave meeting.
I shall
Goodbye. I don't want
leave.
to sit here.
I
Right.
shall leave.
Hello and welcome to Behind the Duvet. That's what we're calling it now.
The Duvet, really.
The Duvet, darlings. Behind the Duvet with me, James. We are with the cast, and yes, we are with the cast. We are with the cast of MatchGirls of Bow. So let's introduce. Obviously, we have Abby. You may go first.
Hello, I'm Abby Louise. I wrote, produced, and I play Sarah Chapman in MatchGirls of Bow.
Amy.
Hi guys, I'm Amy Saffret and I play Annie Besant.
Strax.
I am Strax. I was a couple of people, I can't remember their names, and I was the director.
Ooh.
I can't remember.
I was about to.
Sorry.
Yeah, I was about to. Mr. Connor.
Hello, I'm Colin Chadwick and I play Mr. Bryant and Mr. Law.
We've nicked him from over.
Yeah.
Tiny. Chelsea, sorry.
Hello, it's me, innit? Hello, I am Chelsea Lagan, and I was the executive producer for the MatchGirls of Bow, and I also played Kitty Duffy. He
And
has
last but
less
no
fingers.
And last but no means least, Mr. Jimmy.
I am Jimmy Wolf, and I played Herbert Burrows. I was also the Doctor, not for that one. And I was also Charles, somebody or other, an MP.
Yeah.
Oh, Charles. Yes, hello.
Yeah, it was Mr. Posh Charles.
Mr. Posh Charles.
He was very, very drunk.
It's a good day in Parliament, what?
Good day in Parliament. So, Abby, so give us kind of a little bit of a backstory to sort of the Match Girls and kind of what kind of inspired you to sort of do this audio?
Right. So this all kind of escalated from Jenny Flint, surprise, surprise, who is a Doctor Who character. Shock, horror, I know, right?
Gasp!
But gasp, when I was doing the research into her character, all it said in her character, like, backstory was Jenny was a match girl. And then my personal fascination with the match girls stuff kind of escalated from there. Yeah, so Before Vastral 1 was basically where this obsession started, and now yay match girls.
Up the mattress.
Up the mattress.
Up the Match Girls. So with that, did you do, obviously, how much research did you have to sort of do to really get the story? And like, was it easy to adapt it's quite an unknown event in history, even though it's a very important event, it's quite unknown. So was it quite easy to put it into a dramatic form?
So what I did was, so the whole thing is about this like starter article in the link pamphlet. And so basically I got this article and then broke it down into characters. And then just went off from there. Like, there's an incident with the whole Kitty has a line where she's talking about like going for jam and jam on toast and drinking buckets of tea, and that's in the article. And the incident with Kath where she nearly loses her fingers, that's also in the article, as is the whole Kitty actually losing her fingers. So I kind of got this one article and broke it up into random people that never actually existed. There are some people that actually were part of the Match Girl strike, but I kind of like integrated them in with made up people. But yeah, like key events I've distributed between not real life people to like, basically.
How does it feel going from, because the recent sort of big historical that we did beforehand was R101. How did you feel about going from R101 to Match Girls?
This one's definitely more closer to my heart. Both of the incidents aren't very well known throughout history, but I feel like this one's more significant. Purely because, as I was saying to you lot earlier, like, everybody knows what a suffragette is. Everybody knows about the suffragette movement. but that was like 20 years after this. And yet this is like a band of women like getting together. And then after this, there was like dockyard strikes and all this stuff. So it's kind of like a domino effect from here of people going, we're not being treated right. And it's kind of like the start of like health and safety in the workplace in a way. There's like little things that we take for granted that we wouldn't even think about now. It's like having a place to have your lunch. That's not, especially when you're in a factory. I get that it's different in like an office space. That's a completely different scenario. But if you're at machinery, you'd expect to like down tools and go for some lunch or whatever. But they never used to do that. And obviously, because the place where they were eating was basically surrounded by chemicals and poisonous substances, they were ingesting them. They were just making them 10 times worse than what they needed to be, you know? Health and safety stuff.
So yeah, it's quite interesting with that it's, again, when you think of Victorian factories and you don't necessarily sometimes hear you hear the horrors, but you don't necessarily hear like there wasn't any rights back in the days for
Well,
factory
there is a
workers.
line. There is a line in it as well where they're on about children in mills, having injuries and stuff, and all that was raised and sorted prior to this. So I get that like the kids were seen before this, which makes complete and utter sense, but it was that kind of like triggered all the rest of it. It's like, well, it's okay. Like you know that it's not okay for that kid to be in danger in the mills. However, you're okay with this like 16-year-old girl sat there with her face falling off. That's perfectly fine. Like it doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Amy,
Yes.
how does it feel? This is your first non-Who, I want to say, or like sort of like is non-Who?
No, I
Or-
think I've done. I think this might be
Touched.
my second, no, third non-Who.
Okay.
I'm in a part of Touched, and also I was a part of the Penny Dreadful series.
Oh, nice. How did sort of that compare from your previous experience to this one?
This one, I've got to agree with Abby. When I was approached to take part and did my research, it's very, it touches a nerve and it goes very, very close to home. With the other ones I've been a part of, it's been, the characters have been very free. And with Annie, um, she was, she's one of the few characters that are there. She is real. You can look her up, you can find her pictures, and talk about, you know, the social reform she was involved in and all this. So personally for me, it was quite nerve-wracking because obviously I wanted to make sure, very similar to when way back when I was in Before Vastra, when I had the Ripper victim Annie Chapman, I wanted to make sure that I was bringing off enough, be able to do them justice, because there was this kind of riding of, this person was real, we know that they existed, basically don't screw this up kind of thing. But thankfully, Abby sent some like amazing footage over of the match girls talking and things like that. And I did my own research and found out how much Annie was not only involved in obviously getting the match girls to talk, but you know, she got involved in the school board, making sure that the kids had preschool dinners, their bodies were all checked by medical exams, things like this.
Honestly, you could do an audio that was just about Annie Besset in her own right.
Yeah, because she like Abby said, she had such a mind which was advanced ideas for the time. So the idea of a national education for the kids, the women's votes, this was kind of that catalyst of having it all rolling. And then, as Abby said, 20 something years later, we had the suffragettes, and we had Emmeline Pankhurst then appeared, and all this, and her idea of trade unions and things like this. And it's just fascinating, because then not only did she do it here, but she then went to India and helped to promote Indian self-rule and to get the British Empire out. She got put under house arrest for it while she was out there. But this idea of, Irish nationalism, the Indian Free State and things like this, she was like a powerhouse. And she was quite a petite woman.
She was
So
like
it
5
was
foot, yeah.
Yeah, she was like what we call like the Tinkerbell. She was just this tiny petite woman. She wasn't heavy framed or anything like this. But my God, she had some welly to her. And it was just amazing to kind of give not only Annie, but this story the opportunity to be open, because as we've been chatting before, and as you said yourself, James, not many people know about the match strike. People may know about the dockyard workers, the children in the mills before, but then this big march and everything got overshadowed by a serial killer that happened, what was it, maybe about 3 or 4 months later. So it kind of got swept under the carpet a bit. And then all of a sudden, when the suffragette movement and all that kicked in, everyone was like, oh yeah, this is it, without the realization of about 20, 30 years beforehand, actually, to make a symbol, the match was lit about 20, 30 years ago by these girls going, we're not having this anymore. I'm done with being fined for dirty feet. I'm not risking losing limbs for the sake of pittance that I can hardly get bread and cheese with. So to be able to bring this out and to help the memorial and getting the donations and that, it's really touched it. It really has.
Yeah. It's really, again, like the flames, and I think this is quite an inspiring story.
Oh yeah,
definitely. And I think it's definitely it's definitely something that I think looking at history, I think it should be taught. I think these kind of sort of moments in history should be taught in schools, because it shows what community can do. So
I would wholeheartedly agree with that. They teach about the mill conditions and during the Industrial Revolution and all this. They talk about the working conditions on the mills and things like this. I think that there should be an extra module or some way in there of the match girls being in there. Brian and May, the atrocities not only of living in the houses with the kids, but these young girls as well, who are literally hand to mouth just about. And it needs to be. Couldn't agree with you more that this needs to be out more.
Well said. Yes.
Up the matches.
Up the matches.
Amy for Prime Minister.
I'm getting quite emotional.
Yeah. Oh.
When I become Prime Minister, that's it. It'll come into mainstream education. That's it. That's it. From primary and then into GCSE history. That's it.
Lovely.
There will be a whole subject. There'll be a whole module on the match girls and the catalyst into the women's rights and everything.
Excellent. Mr. Barrett.
That's you.
That is you.
Yes, that is me.
Yes.
Deep in
What?
But I want to ask you a question, if that's all right.
Yeah.
Gosh, you've directed something and it's gone straight to your head. Speaking of,
Oh, sorry, darling. Talk to my agent. I'm
darling, sweetie, darling. I'll send a bottle of Bollinger. What? So how was it directing Match
it's
Girls?
awful. They just didn't listen. And it was kept going into sticker. It was absolute dial.
I don't know what you mean.
I didn't really have to. I've had a wine, so apologies. I didn't really have to direct much. It was more sort of sit and listen. And at one point, I think I got so enthralled, I forgot I was directing.
I
were
think we all do that on occasion.
I think it was because a lot of us, when we were like acting, we were so emotionally invested that we didn't
Yeah,
really
I
need
didn't
too
really need
much
to sort of say,
direction.
"Oh, that was shit," or "You need to redo that." It was, yeah. The first thing I've directed, probably the first big thing.
I think it is your first time
My
directing,
first
and
venture into the director road.
you've joined the club.
You tick a box now.
I can tick a box. Yeah, it was fun to sort of sit back and kind of listen to all the different characters popping up and just someone else doing Mr. Bryant for reasons. This wasn't me.
That was so weird. That was the weirdest
It was
thing.
weird.
That was weird for me because I'm like, not how I would have done it, but that's fictional, Mr. Bryant, not actual Mr. Bryant.
Historically, there's two
historically
Mr.
correct. Well,
There's two Mr. Bryants on TT, and there's fictional Mr. Bryant, who is not a very nice man, and there's actual Mr. Bryant, who's also not a very nice man, but they're both completely
but a bit
different forms
nicer,
of not
but a
very
bit
nice
nicer
man.
than my version of Mr.
It's
B.
true, yeah.
Yours, Matt, is just a complete scumbag.
Yes.
And that's probably to put it politely.
That is putting it very politely. I tell you what was like. I know we recorded it, but obviously, once listening back to it, the bit where is it Kitty loses her fingers?
Yeah.
Hello.
Oh, I felt that.
Yeah.
No,
I felt
I
extremely
completely forgot.
uncomfortable
That was
listening to that.
I completely forgot that it always happens.
I kind of
it always happens, and I was
intrigued
just
by the
like,
music. But I
That
was
was
like,
and then I think I was just like,
yeah, I'm not
The
sure about
music
anybody else,
is the
but
music was
oh, I know.
perfect.
Oh, that was
Honestly,
fantastic.
Jed is absolutely fantastic when it comes to music. Like, he just gets the tension and the atmosphere and everything about the scene just absolutely perfect. Like, I don't think a scene would be the same without his music a lot of the time. I swear.
And I think
so
also
good.
with that, it was very good acting on your half, Chelsea, as well. The music and everything. The music can only do so much, but if you can't put that convincing over, it's not going to sell.
No, it's
I
not
still have
this.
I still have this image in my head though of Kath's character just being like, "You'll be fine," and like Chelsea stood there, her hand is just like completely immobulated.
You can almost visually see the panic in her eyes.
I think that's like one of the scenes that like I've had this like experience like before type thing where it was not getting my fingers cut off, but like acting in PE.
Gave birth.
Yeah, I gave birth, and that was hard enough to do as it is. And again, I had my microphone, and I had to stand at the other side of the room. The same with this one is just standing at the other side of the room, listening to everybody in my earpods and being like,
hoping that nobody walks in when you're screaming.
But the thing is, I never do. Like, I never usually act out a scene like in the rehearsals or whatever. I'll just be like, my fingers, because I kind of just leave it to a one take thing. Because for me, I always say that if you
some of that you need,
especially
we found that works better though a lot of the time, didn't we?
Yeah, because you won't get the same feeling and you won't get the same reaction as you do the first time you do it. So I never, like, whenever it comes to a scene like that, especially with like a screaming scene or anything like that, I never do it when in the rehearsal, and I'll never go through a first thing of it, like a second round of it. I always do it then and there, and usually it works in my favor and comes out kind of like the best one. So like, I'm glad that people enjoyed it, but I just seen people's faces being like, "Oh,
Did you notice the noise when she pulled the fingers out?"
Yeah,
that's how I was just like, ooh.
That was not pretty.
Abby Louise catches the gore.
Literally, I watched Connor's faces that happened. You could just see Connor go.
It's like, oh, that sounds too realistic.
Yeah. So Chelsea, with that, I mean, obviously, what was it also like being executive producer?
I absolutely loved every minute of it. No, honestly, it's like It's like I'm not just I like Strax said, like, see, you're just sitting there listening to everybody and you're like, yeah, that's good. And then after you record, Abby's like, is everyone happy? Everyone happy? And you know, like the director and all says, aye. I'm sitting there like, that was basic. He's like, Chelsea. I'm like, oh yes, I'm happy, yes. Like you completely get stuck within the story of it, and you get literally you're dropping off every single scene that's there because you're just like you're so in the moment of it. And when the characters just go and perform, and you know you do them scenes that only take like one take of doing, and you don't have to do a wee rehearsal beforehand, it just comes off naturally. You literally get stuck in the moment. But I have to say, like the cast that we got, we are very lucky, and we have newcomers that are coming into like this project as well. And honestly, I couldn't imagine doing this project with anybody else because everybody that's been here and done this story is absolutely fantastic and played the most fantastic that they could with the characters that they were given. They done their research. They've done all their different things, and like just bringing those characters, even though they are real people, but bringing them to life as well, and giving them a personality. And you know, it's just absolutely, it's phenomenal seeing people grow.
So
and
I tried
seeing
like
people that you work with grow.
character wise, I tried to do kind of a mixture between actual people and like fictional people. And I think, fingers crossed, I've written them so similar that you kind of struggle to see which ones are made up and which ones are actual.
They all
like,
have their own
actual
personality,
people.
you know.
Yeah.
They all have their own personality, but it's like a believable personality, so it doesn't seem like an over the top person. But you can, and I've always said this, in everything that Abby writes or creates, you can literally, if you closed your eyes, you can literally picture the surroundings and picture the scene happening as if it was like a movie right in front of you. Like you can picture like them coming out the door, one of the characters running off with the book. You can see her fucking scooting off, and everybody laughing with her. No, you can imagine all of these scenes going on in your head, and it's the same whenever you're recording it as well. You can see all these scenes happening, like it's all pictured like crystal clear right in front of you, and you know exactly the tone of everything. And it's just absolutely incredible to see just people immersing themselves deep in the story and like getting all emotional and everything towards the end and everything. You gotta love it. I absolutely love it. Yes.
Brilliant. Yeah, fantastic.
Yes.
Well, we're gonna go to the dark side now for his villain TT debut, Connor.
Boo.
Yes.
For those who do not know, Connor is such a lovely person.
He's a big
What was it like?
cuddly teddy bear.
He is a
Yeah,
big teddy bear.
he's a big teddy bear. What was it like playing a villain?
I quite enjoy it because I've not got that kind of natural personality that when it's like, you know, you kind of get the option to play a bit of chaos without knowing there's actual consequences sometimes. I don't know why I keep being written to say harsh things to Chelsea in every production. That was the DOS house owner in Molly 2. Did that separately.
I'm not very nice when it comes to casting.
No, I did that one as a separate recording, and I didn't realise who I was talking to until the premiere. And I was like, "Oh,
I know, I didn't even realise until.
I'll say this though. So, like we mentioned previous, we've had a Mr. B and a Mr. Brian in two kind of sections of TT, and both of them play evil bastards. However, they are the nicest, kindest humans in real life you will ever meet.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say that's a running theme, but no,
Yeah,
I really
Abby's running theme. Get the nicest person to be that.
Hello,
That's
you're
the most-
The
nice.
nicest, tallest people.
And you've
The
got to be
nicest,
tall
tallest.
but nice, yeah.
Tall, like basically the BFG. Like, you know,
Yeah.
you've got to be basically be that to
Big
play a
Freddy
nasty
Giant
villain.
playing the nastiest person in
Can I
the
say
world.
this though? And I'm gonna big Chadders up right now. You absolutely smashed this role, darling.
You did.
Oh, thank you.
Great Chudders.
Oh. I got to play a nice person as well, I think, Mr. Law. He was on the good side at least. So I got to play a nice bit of a balance But no, it was fun. It was very fun, and I really like the sort of community element that was felt when we were recording. We were still able to have a laugh and joke about things, and even during the read through, you know, when there was some cast members who couldn't make for the read through, we had obviously Chelsea being a sticker for some of them and everything like that. That was
Oh,
Here,
great.
anytime there's an opportunity, sticker comes
is
out.
Teddy.
Yeah, and
That's
that,
Whatever sticker can be used, she's there.
She is there.
it's just a nice, it's just a nice thing because obviously what's being made is something historically accurate and thus is not always happy, and we're still able to keep the mood happy, work together, and still be really positive and make something really nice. I mean, we listen to it and we're just like, oh, when we're listening to it, but like we've got the happy memories of making it as well, and hearing edits and stuff like that. So it's been really nice. Yeah.
Lovely. Jimmy.
Hello.
Jimmy.
Hello. Jimmy, yeah,
Jim,
Jim, hi. What is, again, about, cut this out a bit. What was it like playing sort of your characters? How did you sort of prepare to sort of play this role?
I'll be honest,
roles?
I didn't do much research, if any, just purely because I didn't know. I was one of those people. I think I'd heard of the Match Girls and things like that, and I knew there was strikes and things, but I didn't really know anything about it. And I didn't really necessarily want to go too much into the fact, because I thought if I immerse myself more in the fact of it, I'm going to lose some of the drama. And I think this felt like one of those things that I knew that Abby would have covered the fact side of things. So it's kind of like I didn't feel like I necessarily needed to know it, because I figured if you're going to tell this story, you want it to be a story that people remember. So you need to have the drama in there. And I think it's, I wanted to go into it with an approach of someone who was new to the story. So I was sort of learning about it as I was listening to it. So it kind of sort of, in that sense, put me as both performer and audience, if you see what I mean. And it gave me an idea of the kind of way to present that story to the audience, because obviously you've got Herbert Burrows in there, who's a fantastic character to play.
He's an actual person.
I was going to say he's one of the few actual people that I did look up afterwards, and it was quite interesting. He's not how I pictured him at all either. In my head, I pictured him as quite an old sort of man, big mutton chops, top hat sort of thing. But he was quite a young fellow. I didn't realize he was quite that young, but I liked it as well, because it was the thing that struck me about him. And again, as someone who didn't really know a huge amount about it, it struck me as he was one of those people that you're looking at and think, like, for a man at that time to be concerned about social change and activities, specifically for women as well, it was quite a sort of, it's quite a sort of interesting position for him to be in, because he's sort of, where you'd have most men were probably the ones who were in charge and didn't care. To have those people in there that did care, I think it's quite good to have, to make people aware of who those characters are. But at the same time, it's sort of, you need to also make it sure that these characters are the people that stood behind the women. The women were the ones that they were there to do the change. It was kind of like these were. I got the feeling from the way it was written, he was the kind of man who would be the person he would be the person to do something, i.e. in this case, put it in the magazine, but in a way of him saying, I am the conduit for what these women have to say. I am a small cog in their machine, kind of thing. So it was very much sort of that, you want to sort of keep that sense of reverence in it, because again, it's not about characters like him, it's about the people that it's also about. And then obviously other people, like you had again the MP, you kind of just I don't know what, I think I just did general posh generic man for that.
Oh, yes.
Posh generic man.
Yeah, but at the same time, it was kind of like, again, I thought, well, MP, he's a somebody who's a bit posh. These are people who would necessarily be probably regarded back then as common folk. So I just, again, I don't want to put too much characterization into people like that, because the story's not about them. It's more about the people that are actually being talked about and things like that. So and then the Doctor was just the Doctor. I think I put a little bit more evil into him, because he is cutting off somebody's hand, but Slightly less
Poor
caring.
Kitty. Out of all the
Poor
bits of an article I could have picked up,
Getting
You've
those
got his
removed.
fingers. Oh, we know what we're going to do with that
we're
one.
gonna have that.
But no, but as
Powerful.
a story, as someone again who didn't know, I think it's been done absolutely brilliantly, both written, researched, performed by everyone, because it's, you know, I think it really is one of those things that, again, I agree with something that Amy said. You know, this is something that should be taught in schools, because, you know, we learn a lot of stuff. You know, again, I don't know what the curriculum is like these days, but this is certainly something that, you know, wasn't really taught in my school. I mean, I don't really remember in schools learning necessarily about even the suffragettes. I remember they were sort of mentioned and things like that, but it wasn't something that was necessarily taught. But again, it's kind of like you were made aware of it. But the whole MatchGirls thing, again, I was aware sort of it, but this is something which has all sort of been quite new to me. And again, it really makes you realize how undertold their struggle, and also the you know, the changes and reforms that they made to the system. Because as someone, you know, obviously not in the same things, but I work in a factory putting things together, and even just the simple things, like I've never questioned going to the break room to have lunch. And you look at it and think, like, that's probably, well, it is almost certainly because of them. And I think sort of it's good, because I think more people, if you listen to this, more people in those positions will sit there and think, I've never thought of that before. You know,
Those things you take for
it's
granted,
very it's very thought provoking. And it's, you know, I think it's a great way to get that story to more prominence.
Well
Definitely.
said, sir. Well said.
Yeah, well said. Yeah.
One of those things that's kind of been lost in the mist of time, probably because of
Yes.
the whole.
I have a habit of
the
telling
stuff that
stories
came
of
out.
history that have been lost or brushed over.
Oh, what's
Somebody
next?
has
I
to, and
wonder.
you do it
About
Stay
extremely well.
tuned.
Because
Stay
let's
I
teach
have
the kids about a
plans, I have
murderer rather
plans.
than things that should be taught about.
I
Yeah,
have
it's the thing.
plans, people.
They'll happily
You know that
teach-
moment in history that nobody knows about? It'll magically appear on TT at some point. I'm sure.
Are we basically like doing
Learning
some
by
sort of
audio.
like, yeah, are we doing some sort of like horrible histories, you know, when you start learning,
Well,
like,
you know, I've said this before, and I don't know whether I've said it on a podcast or whatever. I've definitely said it to you lot. I'm one of these people who I loved horrible histories. I absolutely loved it.
I've actually
And
learned things from horrible histories.
I still
No,
watch
but
it now when I'm an adult.
But the thought of learning, the way they make you learn history and you don't kind of realise you're learning, that's very much the way I like to write these historicals.
For
is
someone with
that,
ADHD, it's a perfect way of learning.
well, like R101 as an example, because that's the only other like pure historical we've done, and I like people to be immersed in a drama, but at the same point learn facts, even if they don't know they're learning facts.
Or the
Like,
very
They'll
least,
go to a quiz
Subliminal.
and
There's
they'll
so many
randomly know an
points.
answer
There's
to
so
something.
But there's so many points in this audio which are literally direct quotes. I have picked up a bit of article and basically copied and pasted it. Like, there's a bit with Siobhan where she writes "Dear Lady" letter, and it's signed "A Match Girl." That actually happened. That is literally a copy paste. Rumor has it was my character Sarah Chapman, but obviously me being me, I decided it was the Irish girl. But there's nobody knows who it was, because it was literally signed "A Match Girl." But I don't know. I enjoy teaching people history and they don't realise it. I like tricking people.
if people listen to this and then they've listened to it and then they go onto their phone and do Match Girl just into Google, you know you've done well.
We've done.
And that's all it is. You know, they don't have to go out there and read every little thing, every little article.
Nope.
If it just encourages people enough just to go and look for it, that's, you know,
If they
that's,
go
even if
donate
they
to the
don't type in
charity
Match
as well,
Girl, even if they
even
just type in Annie Besant,
yes.
so they type in Sarah Chapman or Alice Ferris, it will still come up with the Match Girl stuff. You know, it's crazy.
So yeah, I think my final question to the group, is, what has been the highlight of doing it? Is there any sort of like little outtakes or like little things that happened that have just really made you chuckle, or
Oh jeez, no, I know.
Right, like let me start, because I really want to big up Matt Lyons.
Yes.
Oh, little Matt, bless him.
Yeah, right. So Matt plays Teddy in this, and
Mhm.
we've worked with him before. He's done some stuff with TT previous, but that last scene
Mhm.
with Tobias Farrington, where he's literally in the alleyway and he goes, "What are you gonna do, sir?
I
If
know.
I
No,
speak to
honestly,
Annie,
he's
what are
amazing.
you gonna do?" And I said to him at the recording, because so before we do the recording, we have a script read over Zoom, and I said to him, "Do it exactly how you did it on Zoom," because when he delivered that line on Zoom, all of us were like, "Yes!" Like mic drop. We were like, "Yes, Matt, you smashed it." Literally that last line, chef kiss.
No, honestly, he's such an amazing kid, you know. And I
Yeah.
remember working with him the first time and just, you know, being that
R101. He was an R101 was his
Yeah.
first one, yeah.
So I think I've been there through all of his stuff there. He was in R101, he was in Dickensian, and I was like directing him there, and then obviously
Yeah.
producing for this one. But honestly, just seeing even in the short space of these 3 audios, how amazing this kid is. And he's growing more and more into his like confidence, and I absolutely adore him. He's done so bloody well. And we just need to get him into more things.
Oh
We
yeah,
really do.
definitely.
The kid has got
Really
such a
do.
talent for one so young. He
Oh,
is
big up to that
just
lines,
if I
honestly.
could have had like half the talent that kid's got at his age.
And I hate to break it to you, he's just going to get better and better as the time
That's
goes
it.
on as well.
Oh
And
god, yeah.
I think he's like 12, 13 as well. We are in trouble, gang.
Yeah.
He's ours. No one else can have it.
This is mine.
He
This
is
is our
Maybe
child
Overton
now.
gonna
can
sort.
borrow, but he's no. Sorry, Connor.
Have to do like a Shirley Temple, put him on a lease or something, lease him out.
No,
we're not
he's
saying-
so
it's not gonna-
good. He's so
it's not
good.
gonna
I really hope that he does some more stuff with
Yeah.
TT because I
Mhm.
say purely like his whole performance and that last line, fantastic.
I know he's just
It's
going to get
brilliant,
better and
lad.
better.
Yeah, like you said, it's impactful. But yeah, I think I think so far from someone who has had no involvement of this project and listening to it, it's really good. It's a really good, and you felt like you're peeping into history. It's one of the best things you can do is sort of look and listen and feel, and you feel so much sympathy, but you feel the empowerment. You feel again the match has a light, so to speak. But yeah, I mean, has there anyone else got anything to say whilst we're here?
I'm trying to think of any outtakes that happened.
Yeah, was
Oh,
there any funny?
Mainly sticker outtake.
I was gonna
No,
say,
no.
it's
There was
just
this
a
one line.
sticker.
There was this one line that I was meant to deliver, which is just before we walked into Annie Besant's house, and I could not get it out. And it was the whole like, "Oh, were you in the bed across from your sister?" And I could not get that line out. It came out completely. It had so connotations the way I was saying it.
Oh yes, yeah. I remember that.
It was a disaster, but I got it eventually. But to be truthful, like outtake wise, I don't think there was too many.
My terrible Mary standing voice was quite ridiculous.
Oh,
that
Mary.
Mary
Oh,
was
that was-
brilliant.
Oh my god!
that
we
was-
I can't even remember what I
Oh.
probably couldn't do it. I just
Right.
can't remember what I did.
Literally, so because we record
No,
on
yeah,
a thing called
yeah.
Zencaster and it has a limit to how many people you can have on one Zencast, so we had to split it over 2 days. So the cast that weren't there on the Saturday, we had to have replacements, and Jimmy was Mary.
That was
a terrible
so
Mary
funny.
voice.
That was great.
I don't know where that voice came from.
We're going to keep that in mind. Mary will make a return. Mary will make a return with Michelle Willows.
And then there's me trying to convince Kat's Welsh accent by filling in for.
Oh, that's another thing I learned
Oh.
during the stand-ins. I can kind of do an Irish accent, but I cannot be Irish whilst Kath is being Welsh. I can't do it. So on the Sunday, I was trying to be Kitty and be Irish, and obviously she was being Welsh. I could not.
You
I
turned
could
into
not.
Welsh, weren't you?
I couldn't do it.
Aye.
weirdly, I had the same thing because I stood in for Seamus on one of them, and I tried to do Irish, and I couldn't do it. The minute there was the Welsh came in, I just couldn't. I couldn't keep it in my head.
You can't do like some. You can't
Too
you
many
can't keep
accents
up
in
an
the room,
Irish
you
accent
cannot
where there's a
keep it.
Welsh person there. You can't.
I think I did all right. My Irish accent.
Yeah, but you have a natural.
Yours is a natural accent,
You say
Chels.
that, but
It's
sometimes
fake the
Chelsea
whole
can't
time,
even
dear.
remember her own
I'm not even
accent.
Oh no,
Irish. I'm
Chelsea.
from-
Dude, that's the point. Which is the real
How do I
one?
talk
Is
in
it,
my own accent?
is it Irish accent? Is it received pronunciation, or is it sticker? Which is the real one?
Which is the real Chelsea.
Well,
Which is the real Chelsea?
it's a
We
bit
will
of all,
never
really.
know.
Will the real
There you go.
Chelsea please stand up?
Yes.
It's like,
Alright.
what was it? It's like that James McAvoy movie. He's got the multiple personalities. This is it for Chelsea. There's like,
Don't,
Ladies
if you
and
have that
even
moment,
gentlemen.
you're
Start off.
Chelsea, you're Chelsea, you're
Christ.
Ladies and
sticker.
gentlemen, schizophrenia. Um,
Coming soon to TT Productions.
schizophrenia.
Split
But
sticker.
no,
Split versus sticker.
but no. All I have to say is congratulations to you all. And honestly, well done. It's been a bit of a roller coaster ride, but we got there.
Yeah, but it's a me script, Jim. The
It
amount
is
of
a
me
roller
scripts that are literally like roller coaster rides, it's crazy. I should just put that on my bio.
You should like just like the audio
Warning,
the
this is a
Alton
roller
Towers of
coaster.
This is a
audio
roller
drama.
coaster. Welcome
Yeah.
to a roller coaster.
Welcome
TT
to a roller
Productions, bringing
coaster.
adventures to audio. This one was written by Abby, so it's going to be a roller coaster. Hang on
It's
to your
gonna
hats,
be a
lads.
roller coaster.
Welcome to a
Shit's
video.
gonna
Put your hands
happen.
and feet inside the audio drama at all times, and
People are
please
gonna
scream if you want to
die.
go faster.
There may be emotional moments, so please make sure you have tissues to hand. You may
Yes.
cry.
You may cry, you may laugh, you may go angry. You
Hey, at
might
least
want
we
to.
have a PG-13 thing now.
We do, which is
Yeah.
very good.
Sponsored
Very,
by
very
Chelsea Lagan in her RP.
Thank
And
you,
I'll go-
dear.
good. This is a PG-13. It
This
means
is a PG-13, so please, children under the age of 18, pass off.
That's that.
pass on.
I think
Right,
that
and
last
on
bit
that,
got cut.
yes, and on that note, we shall love and leave you all. Please like, subscribe, and all that malarkey when it comes to YouTubes and stuff
And
like that.
donate!
And donate.
And donate.
Please
Donate.
donate to the
Donate.
Memorial Fund. Please
Go and
donate.
donate,
Donate.
please. This is done for a charity. organisation.
Yes,
Yes.
please.
Highly
Yes.
important.
Please donate.
If
And
not, I will
honestly,
come round and beat
Every
you.
time you donate, I will go over to England and I will paint the statue's hand red.
Aye.
Chelsea,
Yes.
Chelsea Gladstone's hand will
What more
stay
incentive
red.
do you need,
I
people?
will hoist her up onto my shoulders. So she can
We'll take photo evidence and post them on the Patreon. Also, subscribe to our Patreon.
yeah, subscribe to the
Oh, yes. Well done.
Patreons. But we have some
Anything else we need to promote?
juicy
Yeah, exclusive Patreon.
some
We love an
exclusive
exclusive.
Patreon. We have some lovely juicy exclusives that you just got to sign in. Just got to sign in. Just got to sign in. You just get in there.
Now.
Right. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, and hope to see you very soon.
Bye bye.
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 Oh, I'm pushing
went-
the wrong button. That helps.
I
Bye.
went